Today is the day, right? Today is the day.
Again.
Okay, one more time.
Do this one.
Today is a day that people in Seattle and Denver and across the country have been waiting for. And that we get to see that action lived out in the end zone with the scoring touchdown. Someone's not ready for the Super Bowl. And I'm always mindful that when we get to this day, we see that action repeated over and over again. Like that quarterback and receiver who catches the ball and all of a sudden is in the end zone pointing up to God, knowing that they have been blessed with that touchdown catch. Knowing that their team has been blessed as they make the sign of the cross over themselves. And yet we come into this space and we ask ourselves and hear these words of Jesus, wondering what blessing really is. You see, this afternoon, as you sit and watch this big game unfold on TV and hear and watch the announcers and all of this excitement and celebration and people feeling blessed as they win. And as you watch the commercials, which will tell you you will be happy and blessed if you buy the right car or drink the right soda pop, or if you go out and make sure that you have the right snack food, or you do the right thing, you will be blessed. Right? But it's all about selling things and inviting you into a culture that is about capitalism and empire in a way that what we hear in this space today says, hold on. Listen. These words of blessing are different than if you buy the right car or drink the right thing or eat the right food or put your money in the right bank. The words of blessing are different than standing up for the national anthem as it's sung with probably more trills than it needs to have. Rather, today is a time for us to think about blessing in a very counter-cultural way. We hear these words from Matthew 5, the Beatitudes, and we are called to listen, to pay attention. Now, many of you know that these words come to us in both Matthew and in Luke, and there are variations. There's even a variation in terms of the setting. In Luke, it is the Sermon on the Plain, very egalitarian, where all can come and gather. In Matthew, someone steeped in the Jewish tradition and lifting up the significance of what it means to be part of that tradition, the setting is high on a mountain. Jesus goes up the mountain with the disciples, and we don't know if it was 5 or 12 or if it was 100, but they go up onto the mountaintop, and there Jesus teaches them. This is in line with Moses, who has gone before him in the Jewish tradition, who goes to the Mount Sinai and receives the Decalogue, the 10 Commandments. This is in line with Elijah, who goes up on the mountain and is equipped as a prophet. And here in this space and time, Jesus is lifted up as one who is anointed by God to do a new thing, who is revealed in wonderful and powerful ways. And yet the words run countercultural. And how many of us like to hear these words? Really? And then apply them to our own lives. Blessed are the poor in spirit. I would rather be rich in faith and certain and sure of what I am doing, rather than questioning, struggling, feeling my spirit weighed down. Blessed are those who are meek, I'd much rather go out into the world with a full sense of self and who I am and a little bit of ego to get me through each day than a sense of meekness and humility. Blessed are the peacemakers, a loaded topic in our culture and society, both when we think about our words and our actions, but also when we start to think about police officers and military personnel. When we think about how we are called to live in community with one another in a new and profound way. Blessed are those who are persecuted. There are all of these things that we hear about over and over again, and we struggle with what it means. What does it mean for us to hear these words of blessing coming from Jesus, and how do we live into them? Now, one thing for us also to hold up is we don't have a great English word for this word blessing. You see, many translate it as blessed are. Some also translate it as happy are. Some would say honored are. There isn't one neat word that captures all of that. Of blessing and happiness, of honor, of fullness that Jesus is wishing for those, praying for those who are there with him. And I tend to believe that he is praying mightily and fervently for these people, for us. Because he knows that the task ahead of them and ahead of us is a counter-cultural task. That our living in the fullness of God is about God's realm coming near and being lived from now into the future. And that's a piece we miss out on in this lectionary text, is that just before this, Jesus has been with many, many people. And his word is not just that God's realm is far off. It is that God's realm is here. God's realm has come near now. And in a sense, it begs the question, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to live into this fullness? Are you going to live into this blessing and wonder with all that you are? Are you going to challenge the powers of the empire of Rome that tell you just to fall in line, to do things the way they are done? Are you going to pay your taxes dutifully, even when the poor are suffering mercilessly at the hands of the rich? Are you going to allow others to be persecuted in the place that they are today? Are you going to stand on their side and speak a word of truth and hope? Standing up for bullies in school or in the workplace or in the government? Are you going to be a voice that speaks out of humility, even when there are things that divide? To say, here is the path that God invites us to live, to care about, and to dwell in richly.